Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the council meeting, the 5th of July 2022. I'd like to open up this meeting and go for 1.1 and ask for any apologies or absentees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have an apology from the Mayor, Councillor Jason Hamling.
Move the apology, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten, and thank you very much. All in agreement? Any against? Against, carried. Thank you. We also have Councillor Stephen Peterson on there.
Zoom, yes, he is.
In.
Yeah.
Okay. Could we have a mover? That Councillor Peterson, thank you. Greenhow and Councillor L. And all in favour? Against? Thank you very much. Okay. 1.2. Live stream and recording. The council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure that you're respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. And City Council accepts no liability or information or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administrative purposes. 1.3, I'd just like to acknowledge that we are gathering on the beautiful country of the Wiradjuri people. They have been custodians for thousands and thousands of years, acknowledge elders past, present and also future. Also to extend that welcome to other nations that are gathered here today. Just on that note, I just want to say one small brief aspect of where in the second day of the NAIDOC celebration of this one whole week, and it was great to see the councillors and council workers there at the down in the function centre here today, and it was just a beautiful event with the theme echoing that to get up, stand up and show up with many of the elders being present too. We'd just like to acknowledge that. 1.4, declaration of interest. Does any council wish to declare any conflict of interest in a matter of, for consideration at this council meeting here tonight? Councillor Peter Stevens. Don't see him, so I'm just a bit. None? Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. There's, let it be noted, there's no interest. We did have an opening prayer, but there is an apology from Danu Nara from the Orange Hindu Association, which is he is unwell. So we wish him all the best for speedy recovery on that note. Okay, the council's meeting adjourned for the conduct of open forum. Speaking to the PDC meeting, item 2.3, development application to Cod Street. I'd like to welcome Jacqueline Tucker to the mic, please. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you. Yeah, and just be aware, we have a 3-minute.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes, sorry, my bad. 5 minutes, yeah.
5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, today 5 minutes, thank you.
You might come.
Streetscapes and or public realm. That's the end of quote. The statement seems very naive. How could such a major project not have an impact on adjoining lands or public realm? For example, we have just been through the long building process of the childcare centre across the road in Kite Street, where parking outside MENA of large equipment, cement mixers, workers, utes and trucks was so regular that whenever we had work to be done, deliveries or unloading heavy items ourselves, at MENA's extensive gardens also needed work, we could not get access to our front gate or come out of our driveway. So workers' vehicles and the nature strip was dug up by tow bars. We had screws gutted everywhere. We had cement on the grass, etc., and rubbish that we had to clean up. I'm not wishing to say not in my garden, but as MENA is listed in the Orange Heritage Walks Guide, tourist literature, public displays in Cook Park and in architectural books, visitors would never have a chance to see MENA in its natural streetscape, unless it is a clear construction where vehicles are not community serving ones. They're very welcome, of course, but the construction vehicles should park outside the property where the work is being carried out. We note that conditions relating to demolition have been imposed, and we hope that the work parking is restricted to outside and in the back garden of number 52. Secondly, pool lighting. We raised this concern at the last meeting, and once again we say we understand that it is not unreasonable to have lighting, of course. However, there was a sympathetic view during the site inspection by councillors of our concerns of the lights in number 52 who are already shining directly into our bedroom windows. But we see that the item in the DA, even though we have raised it, has not been amended to correct the problem. And thirdly, acoustic privacy. On page 56, it says there is already an impact. On page 56, I'm quoting, there is already an impact of acoustic privacy, of which we are very understanding. Families need to have activity in their back gardens. We understand that. But say in the quote, and I'm quoting, the DA says the proposed addition has nil impact on acoustic privacy. This is astonishing, as the barbecue area, entertaining area will be greatly enhanced and thus resulting in more noise outside our bedroom window. If council thinks our hedge, which we have, is sufficient to keep the noise minimised, it's common sense to realise that the hedge may not always be maintained at 2.2 metres and it could be destroyed by nature. And I do realise that there will be a brick wall put there, but once again, noise does travel when it's so close to somebody's bedroom. And just lastly, our family supports trees and heritage. What is happening all over metro cities, where developers support bricks and development, not trees? We're going to lose this wonderful bay tree. We've accepted that now, but it's very sad. It saddens me that some compromise or some creative thinking could not have been employed in this case. And I thank you very much for hearing from me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To now invite Mr. William Tucker, speaking on the same aspect of the 2.3 development application, 52 Kite Street. Thank you, William Tucker.
Thank you for the councillors again that attended the site inspection. Jackie's already said this, but it was much appreciated considering the wind and the rain. And thank you for listening to our comments on this DA. I suppose it's interesting that disappointing that despite our pleas to council a few weeks ago and the negative publicity over the continuance by councils of construction hours, that extend beyond 5 days a week to Saturday afternoons, Sundays and public holidays, a move that even our Premier has decided now it's too publicly contentious to continue these terrible construction hours. Now the next election is close. Even tradespeople dislike working weekends, etc. According to this DA, our regime, developers can instruct workers to demolish, rebuild, hammer, drill and spread concrete even on Good Friday and Christmas Day. We ask, why do we need such an unpopular hours, or is someone hell-bent on spoiling everyone's weekend or on a public holiday? The government now understands this construction hours regime has had its day, and the public won't put up with it. Orange is a fine new council, and it doesn't need to have this hourly penalty hidden in the details of its DAs. Also, my wife and I were assured at the last meeting that no such hours would continue in Orange in the future. So it was extremely disappointing to find these construction hours buried in this DA that I have here. And presumably all other DAs that are in the pipeline. Why is it so hard to go back to the pre-COVID hours of 5.5 hours a week, 5.5 days a week, even so tradies and other workers can spend some time at home, sharing time with their wives and kids? Architects, building and planning experts say the banning of such hours by the Premier is a win, not only for Silvertails, but workers' families too. And I'm sure that our Mayor and this Council will agree on this point and refuse to support such construction hours, and we'd like it to appear and removed in this DA. So we ask Council politely to remove it. Now the bay tree. An arborist has said this in this DA that this tree does not warrant preservation. A mention was made of us not needing it for its shade. Where did this come from? We don't want its shade, we want its privacy. And although the arborist says there are plenty of bay trees in Orange, that doesn't make this one any less valuable. Developers failed to mention the bay tree's existence in their first architectural plan. They say it does not fit with the development at 52 Kite Street. It is regrettable that this fine, tall, bushy tree was not considered in this plan. At that stage, surely there could have been a place for it and be considered in the privacy for MENA. This DA, unfortunately, will destroy 2 trees, and to put it in the arborist's words, there are 7 significant trees involved here, identified in the arborist's report as having the potential to be impacted as a result of the development, perhaps a potential for even less trees. This does not sit well in Orange, a heritage area where trees are an iconic factor in planning. We are assured the Council has stipulated that under the heading Landscape Planning that a suitable replacement be part of the plan, provide screening to the neighbouring site. We ask that a suitable replacement not be a trellis with an unpredictable planting, small in size and 20 years in development, but an advanced evergreen tree, one that will provide some benefit in our lifetime for us and for Orange. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. William Tucker. Now, I'd like to Ali Warren in relation to the same aspect of the building, 52 White Street, Orange. Thank you. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Power, and thank you, the rest of the councillors, for your time this evening. In support of the DA at 52 Kite Street, I would like to emphasise that it is the opinion of our town planners to approve the DA. This is because it complies with all the necessary legislation. To support the removal of the bay tree which has caused concern, I will quote from an arboricultural assessment undertaken just after we moved in July 2016. I would like to recommend the removal and stump grinding of the following young trees, which are all less than 300 millimetres diameter at breast height. Bay tree, Laurus nobilis, at the northwestern corner of the house, has the potential to be much too big for that position. I acknowledge now that it is bigger than 300 millimetres at breast height, but that was 6 years ago. Furthermore, shortly after moving in the autumn of 2017, we had some plumbing work undertaken on our western edge, and this showed that the roots of the bay tree were interfering with the drainage from the toilet in the laundry, which it's about 2 metres from. And finally, to delay this DA based on a philosophical objection that an individual has with state legislation seems somewhat unfair on me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie Warren. Appreciate that. On that note, we will now resume to council meeting. I want to just backtrack according to number 2. There being no Merrill minutes, but I do apologise. I forgot to mention the reason why I'm here today in this seat is that our wonderful Mayor Jason Hamling is absent today, and he was to send his apologies.
At the start, and he's recorded as an apology. No, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, moving on to point 3, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings, 3.1. Thank you, Mr. Winton, and somebody second. Thank you, Mr. Greenhow.
Just a clarification, which I asked in the minutes of the meeting, was about the RDA, the funding for the RDA. Whether it was all...
Through you, Mr. Chair, you did too. Are you saying that's not recorded here, or you haven't had an answer yet? Oh, no, I'll get you that answer. Thank you. Yep.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I have one point about the minutes. Would my surname be spelt correctly throughout?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll...
One N, 2 L's.
Thank you.
The microphone.
Wonderful. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, I think, yeah, we've got to vote that. So we have a show of hands. All that there, all against Stevens. Thank you. Anybody against? None against. Thank you very much. Carried. Okay. Council now adjourned to conduct the policy committees. I call on Councillor Winton to chair the planning and development. Yeah. Could I have
That's fine. That's fine.
Could I have all chairs to come forward over the meeting here? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I would like to open the Planning and the Development Committee meeting on the 5th of July 2022, with the time being 6:50. Declaration of interest. Does any councillor have a pecuniary interest, significant non-pecuniary interests, or less than significant non-pecuniary interests in any matter listed for consideration in this meeting? There being none, I'll move on to item 2.1, items approved under delegated authority, Council June 2022. It's been moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Evans. Any discussion on this item? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Against? The motion is being carried. I'll move on to item 2.2, development application DA 480/2021. 185 Leeds Parade. The recommendation is on page 13.
To move it, Mr.
Moved by Councillor Miletto, seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any discussion on this item? Being no discussion, I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Against? Motion has been carried. Item 2.2, development application item 2.3. Development application DA 182022 52 Kite Street. The recommendation is on page 65. Been moved by Councillor Duffy. I have a seconder, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a problem with this here, but I do have a problem with the approval in item number 23. I think we should take a notice to the objectives of making that from 7 till p.m. and then dropping it to Saturday to 7 a.m. till 12.
You're the mover of the motion, Councillor. So do you wish to make that part of your motion, that you wish to remove condition?
Happy with that?
Is it removing or amending condition 23? Yeah, well, I saw that. on the floor.
Second, happy with that?
Sorry, I was just rereading it.
Yeah, I'm chairing this meeting.
Sorry, yes,
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yep, good.
Sorry.
Mr. Director, you'd like to speak?
Mr. Chair, if I could indulge to potentially clarify to line up with the EPA's interim construction guidelines, which is what Mr. Tuck was talking about with the expiry of the COVID regulation, that it falls back to the original document. The hours on a Saturday would actually be 8 a.m. to 1 p.m, not 7 a.m. to 12. So we just might recommend to the council that you consider so Monday to Friday, as Councillor Duffy has said, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m, Saturday 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. They work on Sundays, public holidays.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
my
Hodges.
recommendation.
Sunday. So that's our resolution is that we Saturday, Monday to Friday as is, Saturday 8 a.m. to 1 p.m, and not accepting public holidays or
So that would just insert in the place in condition 23, and it would line up with the state policy. Yep.
You happy with that, councillor? Both
Just getting
councillors?
back
Seconder?
on the
Yep.
depot, I mean, all
Thank you, Mr.
councils
Hodges.
visited the site there. We saw that what decision's going to happen here. It's going to make the place more homely. I don't think it takes actual streetscape. The impact of talking about the tree, the tree has to go if you're going to make the place more homely. Was that, and that's just the way I think it should happen.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any speakers against? None against. Councillor Mileta?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I support the recommendation. I acknowledge the concerns raised by Mr. and Mrs. Tuck regarding trade and vehicle, the lighting concerns, the acoustic, privacy, etc. I think the difficulty with tradesman vehicles is it's a public street. People have got the right to park wherever they like, and they will park as in close proximity to the building as they can or they choose to. So whilst it may be somewhat inconvenient at times, I think a bit of cooperation and understanding that people are still trying to form their trade should be a consideration in that aspect. With regards to the bay tree, certainly acknowledge Mr. Warren and the work that you've had done to have that tree examined, and the fact that it was causing root damage to your laundry. And I think under those circumstances, it would only be appropriate you would not want that to continue, and that that issue had to be addressed. So happy to support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further speakers?
No, I just have a question. So point 23, will that then go on to be amended in all our DAs that are coming?
Just this one. We've only just changed it for this particular DA. Yeah. Sorry, sorry, Mr. Hodge.
Certainly a standard condition has been amended.
Okay.
The report wasn't reflected the change, so it was about it was the day after the site visit that we amended the so from that time all future DAs or all DAs approved from that time had the correct hours on them.
Perfect, thank you.
These flags are in a really position. Alrighty. So there's no further. Sorry, Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah. Look, I'm speaking in support of the motion. I do think we don't have grounds to refuse this. It's a complying development, as the applicant explained. I do obviously, where we can preserve urban canopy, it's quite important that we do. I did want to ask if the director might be able to say anything in terms of the replacement planting and the native landscape plan there, what sort of expectations might be in terms of the maturity of what's planted in place there.
Council, just bear with me for a second. I shall find the condition. So just reading condition 7, by the way, councillors, which is prior to issue of a construction with the landscape plan submitted, shall be amended. So there's amendments in there. I'm just seeing whether there's so it's telling me that the detail was enough that was submitted in the application to satisfy our hold on that, I was playing.
I don't see a condition here.
Normally, through you, Mr. Chair, there's a condition about landscaping on the prior to commencement of construction. And apologies earlier, I flicked on the wrong page of the iPad and was reading the other document, the other application. I think we discussed the landscaping plan on site, going back through the site inspection. See, during the site inspection, so digressing from the report itself, there was an effort made to retain many of the trees on the site, the example being that Currajong tree, which the house was seemingly designed around. So the site was quite large, as we saw. Looking at this, it's telling me that there wasn't a need to go to the extent of the more detailed landscaping plan at this point. So I just couldn't see a landscape plan being identified in that in those approval documents there. So I reckon that's how it was taken at the time.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Alrighty, no further questions, no further discussion. I'll just check Councillor Peterson. We're all good? Okay. All right, we have a motion in front of us. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Against? The motion is unanimous. I will thank you, councillors. That concludes the meeting for planning at 7 o'clock. I'll invite Councillor Maletta to come and chair the Employment and Economic Development Committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and if the councillors are happy, I'll do it from here. I would like to open the Employment and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting, today being the 5th of July 2022, the time being 7:01 p.m. by the council clock. I don't think there were any councillors who had any procure interest, significant non-procure interest, etc. in this matter, or any of these matters listed here for consideration at this meeting. If there are any come up during the discussions, please let the council staff know. Let's go to item number 2.1, minutes of the Economic Development Community Committee meeting held on the 15th of June 2022. There is a recommendation on page 5. I have a mover by Councillor Evans. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Any discussion with regards to this item, councillors? Sorry, seconded by Councillor Mallard. My apologies. Any discussion? There being no discussion, so I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any against? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. That concludes the Employment and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting, with the time now being 7:02 p.m. and I call on Councillor Evans to conduct the Infrastructure Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Mileto. Is everyone happy for me to do it from here? Would you like me up the top?
I'm against it, Mr. Mayor. I'm not having a go at anyone, but I think if you sit up there, you cannot see where people are voting. Show of hands.
I'm just.
In the world, I could see Councillor Mileto. Oh. I think you just got to.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Mileto. I would like to open the Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting for the 5th of July, the time being 7:01. Does anyone have any declarations of interest for the matters in tonight's meeting? None. Item 2.1, minutes of the Orange and Cabon Road Safety Community Committee meeting on the 26th of May. The recommendation is on page 5. Relates to items on page 7 and 8. I have a mover, please. Duffy and Councillor Floyd, thank you. Any discussion on this item? Being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All in favour? The next recommendation is on page 39. The minutes of the City of Orange Traffic Committee meeting on the 14th of June. It relates to items on page 53, 55 and 59. I have a mover, please.
Happy to move it, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Mileto. Councillor Floyd. Any discussion on the items in this recommendation? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous.
I've just got a matter arising with the Traffic Committee, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to ask the Traffic Committee to consider looking at, I've had a number of complaints about vehicles on Bargwanna Road, a bit of a racetrack. They come off Bloomfield Road, they go through Bargwanna Road down to the next road anyway. Comes back out onto Forest Road and they go round and round and round. They hit some very high speeds in that lane. They tear it up pretty badly and destroy farm fences, destroy the road. And about 3 months ago, or maybe 4 months ago, there was a serious accident there where a motorcyclist was doing the same. And the road really narrows at one point in Bargwanna Road as it drops off to a drop near a house. Car there head on with two. Die, but he must have been close. So I don't know what can be done there, whether they put speed humps there or but certainly it could be raised in the Traffic Committee, probably in the Crime Prevention Committee, I suppose, I don't know. Because there is a number of social issues in that area as well where people sort of items of so I'll leave that to the committee to look at and the Crime Prevention Committee to talk about.
Yeah, can I get clarification? Would that be Buttle Road?
Buttle Road, that is correct, Mr. CEO.
Buttle Road for the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Whitton. I imagine Director Greenham has taken that on notice and noted. Any other comments?
Can I do a matter arising in the follow on from Councillor Whitton? I've had contact from the community concerned about the pedestrian crossing over Byng Street between Robertson Park and the council chambers and the museum. The concern is that if a big car parks next to the pedestrian crossing, then it blocks the vision of any oncoming cars for people using that crossing until they're actually on the road. The suggestion from this gentleman, his taxi driver, was that the car park immediately next to it should be blocked off. I passed that on to Councillor Mileto 30 minutes ago, but thought I would add it to the record given the previous matter arising.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Mileto, do you want to comment, or Director Greenham?
Thank you. Through the chair, we'll investigate that and take it on notice. Thank you.
Director. Councillor Greenhouse.
Can I just make a comment? Interesting fact I think that needs to be noted here is we've seen an increase in fatal accidents to date. In 2022, we're at 122 fatal accidents to date. The indication is that some of these can be due to weather and so forth. So just a question to the committee. We're looking at doing any road safety things with the younger generation. Is there programs and stuff in place like that we possibly could support as a community in terms of defensive driving?
Just through the chair, that'll be a matter for the Road Safety Committee, and they do run regular road safety campaigns with youth and young drivers. Thank you. Not for the Traffic Committee as such.
Thank you, Director. On to the next recommendation is on page 103. Can I have a mover for the recommendation on page 103, please, noting the current works report? Councillor Miletto, second by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion on the current works?
Just a comment again, Jack. 60 tonnes of leaves. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Old days we used I say in old days. Recently.
I just have a question for the director. Sorry, Director Greenham. The pipeline we're putting in from Orange to Lake Canobolas for drinking water, is that actually going to count towards what's included with Seymour Park and Spring Creek Dam, or is that a separate use?
No, that's to actually service the Lake Canobolas area and the Scout Camp area. So it's to supply drinking water, potable water to that area.
Thank you. Any other discussion on these items from current works?
Just to say, Mr. Chairman, that congratulate the staff. The great work that we're doing on replacing the footpaths and certainly the maintenance of the roads. Fortunately, or fortunately, we get good rain, but unfortunately, it does do damage to the sub. Unfortunately, Orange is built on a swamp, and it's very hard to keep the roads to a 100% condition. So this means it's like the Harbour Bridge. We continually go backwards and forwards and repair it. But just to pass on to Mr. Greenham and the team and the staff at the depot, that yeah, they're doing a fabulous job.
Councillor Whitten, any other discussion? Being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? I'll close the Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting at time being 7:08, and I'll call on Councillor Mallard to conduct environmental sustainability. Thanking you.
Councillor Evans, I would like to open the Sustainability Policy Committee meeting on the 5th of July 2022 with the time being 7:09 p.m. Does any councillor have any conflicts of interest to declare? Okay, then we will go to item 2.1, minutes of the Parks, Trees and Waterways Community Committee meeting held 18th of May. There's a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Floyd, thank you. Seconded Councillor Duffy. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on this item? No, then I will put the motion. All in favour, please raise your hands. Any against? No, motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting with the time being 7:10 p.m. And I'll call on Councillor Duffy to conduct the Finance Policy Committee.
Thank you, councillors. I'll call the Finance Committee open at 7:10, and I ask for a declaration of pecuniary interest, significant non-pecuniary interest, and less than significant non-pecuniary interests. Being none, I will then move on to 2.1. There's a recommendation on page 5 for 6 donations there.
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, this is just a general query about this. So the budget for the financial year is $60,000. This is 1 month and it's 9,000. I'm just interested in whether that's normal, 9,200, sorry, whether that's the normal thing for the first month of the financial year for it to be more, because it does leave less for the rest of the year. So how does that work?
It's not abnormal. We've seen various mutations of this. It's busier than normal, I would say, busier than average.
I mean, if we average it, it'd be $5,000 a month, so it's almost double the allowance. So does it ever happen that then there's nothing left at the other end? Or?
Correct.
So that's just something to be mindful of. Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor.
Yeah, just a question also. So just using applicant number 6, the City of Orange Brass Band, where, you know, they've received 2,500 in 2021, 2,000 in 2020, you know, and they've requested another 2,500. The question that I just pose is, you know, is it a token gesture now that we're just giving these grants to the same organisations? I mean, I look at it from a sporting ground and go, you know, each club in Orange has got to pay their referees. You know, where does it stop that we just keep, you know, like, can someone clarify that sort of?
Yeah, okay, I'll clarify it, and the CEO may wish to put added to it. City of Orange Brass Band, it plays at Anzac Days, it plays at Australia Day and all those type of issues. Because of COVID, they haven't had the opportunity. Like every other community organisation, they have their own venue. Their expenses have gone up, and I don't think the charges they give council, I think they mainly do them for free as well. So I think they go well and above their duty to do the money that we give them.
Okay.
Yeah, if just as a comment that I'd make about the 6 of them, I support 1, 2 and 6 100%. But the others, to me, I mean, council to me has never been a public benevolent institution, and those things are usually covered by the state governments and those type of things there. But I'm quite happy to go with what the meeting wishes. Okay, Councillor Powell, you're up. Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, I had a question and a comment. The question is being, does the in-kind support count towards the $6,000 budget? The $60,000 budget, sorry?
I'm being told no, it doesn't.
Okay, great. The second was a comment stacking up from Councillor Greenhall about the number 6 with the conductor honorarium. And this came up earlier in another council meeting. I can see there's plenty of money that's been spent by that organisation that perhaps would well be worthy of support. But I did wonder what the difference was between a conductor as opposed to, say, what Councillor Miletto or Greenhall do in their sporting body without an honorarium. Thinking of last meeting, maybe we should break up, instead of voting on all recommendations in one go, break them up individually and vote on them individually.
I agree.
Comment, Mr. Chair, that's really up to you councillors, right? So all of these items here and the budget, there's 60,000. Not the staff who approve them, it's us in this chamber. We can deal with these whichever way we want to, or we can refuse them all. It's just a matter of whether numbers are there.
They've been moved as a block. Any further questions? The CEO, you was coming.
I was just going to...
Councillor Miletto, and I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question again relates to number 5 and its request for the $2,000 on behalf of the Department of Education. It would appear, whilst I totally support support the students at Glenroy Heights Public School. I wonder when I look at this and when we look at what NAPLAN are doing, things like that. Here we are. We've got teachers who are doing it hard as it is. We're trying to encourage teachers into this type of profession, and we're looking at they're volunteering their time to go to schools like Glenroy. I'm just wondering how that motivates potential people who want to become teachers when they're asking council for $2,000 to assist with whatever it is to be part of that. I'm just wondering again whether councillors, whether we should be again writing to the Minister for Education and drawing this to their attention. Because whilst I totally support that we should be assisting these students wherever possible, again, what I don't want to see is a precedent started here, and I could have a seconder to write a letter to the Department of Education outlining our concerns that it shouldn't be a ratepayer issue to be sending volunteers to a school to assess their capabilities for one-on-one tutoring and mentoring.
I'll second that.
It's a matter arising, really, after the...
I'm happy to deal with it as a matter arising. I understand where you're coming from. As I said, it's not really, as far as I'm concerned, it's not our issue.
Chairman, I'll move an amendment because there seems to be a spirit of some items are not supported and some are. So for the sake of discussion, I will move an amendment that they be dealt with in seriatim.
Second.
Put the amendment, everyone want to speak against, for or against the amendment? I want to put the amendment. The amendment is that we deal with them one at a time. All those in favour say aye. I'll raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay, we'll do them one at a time. The first one is a request for $2,000 from Bowen Residents Action Group to support the Community Technology Centre. Do we have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor. Second. By Councillor Mallard.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
The W. Yeah. Any discussion on that one? All those in favour, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 2, a request from the Legacy Appeals Funds for the in-kind donation of $392.15. Someone like to move that way? Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh.
Yep.
Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye or raise your hand. Unanimous. Item number 3, $1,200 for Pinnacle Dragon Abreast Dragon Boat Group.
Move that, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that. All those in favour raise your hand. Unanimous. Item number 4, a request for $1,500 from the Shepherd Centre for their Talk Together Connection program, on an online program helping children with hearing loss and those.
Happy to move it, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Councillor Malletto, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. Item number 5, a request for $2,000 for Teach, Learn, Grow rural program that is in Glenroy Heights Public School.
I'm happy to move that.
We have a mover, Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just clarification with regards to the matter arising that a letter be written to the Minister for Education. Would that be an amendment to this or something?
Deal with it as a matter arising from
Thank you.
after we deal with this. Any speakers?
Sorry. You.
Thanks, Councillor Whitten, and thanks, Chair. Just wanted to say I will take up Councillor Malletto's matter arising, and I'm certainly pleased to have a number of councillors who are very concerned about the underfunding of public education in the state. But I do at the same time, I do think I don't buy into this saying that these things aren't something council can play a role in. I think community leadership, we adopted a community strategic plan last month that said we want to address the social and class divide, the growing social and class divide in the city. This is about providing tutoring and mentoring in a school where there is, we know, a significant level of disadvantage there. So, I think this is exactly the sort of scheme that council should be looking at providing what's not a terribly large amount of support to. And it's great to see they're going to be measuring the outcomes as well, and hopefully we might hear about how the program's worked. Thanks.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question through you to the director. It says in the recommendation that the actual students are volunteers, right? So the whole program is a volunteer program. I'm just wondering what the $2,000 is for. Because I do know a lot about, like, these STEM programs are all volunteer basis, right?
Do we have a...
I mean, it says on page 28, talks about, local pubs and cafes and stuff like that. So I'm presuming the money might be partially covering that.
I would just...
Any further speakers?
Just not sure how to...
No further
vote on this.
speakers?
Can I just have one moment, please? I'm just going to read the original application, just see if there is a clue. Otherwise, I think might need to be deferred, Chair, if that is your will. So page 28, as Councillor Peterson said, this $800, $300, $150 and $150. Local supermarkets, local pub, cafe, restaurants, local souvenir, gift store, post office. Okay. Rather compute, does it?
I'm happy to move an amendment.
Have a second.
Yep. We have an amendment. Mover in Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Moneta, that we defer this one till the next meeting. Any discussion on that? Anyone speak for or against?
Only speaking for it, Mr. Chairman. I think we have an obligation to be judiciary obligation to understand what we're not against the program. I just need the grants for.
Any further speakers for the amendment or the motion? I'll put the amendment first. All those in favour of the amendment? The amendment is Councillor Peterson.
Oh, yeah, no, hands up, sorry.
Yeah, all good. It's unanimous, and it becomes the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise your right arm. Unanimous again. We move on to item number 6, which I'll move from the chair. Do we have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Whitten. Any discussion?
I'd just like to talk again to that one. Totally in support of brass bands and music and so forth, but I think just looking on the fact that, in the last 2 years, we've given them $4,500. They're asking for another $2,500, a total of $3,000 a year for honorarium to pay the conductor. There's lots of other sporting groups and places out there that are doing it tough as well. I'd like to see some more evidence of what they've done to, actually try and cover the cost, because everyone with COVID is in the same situation. We've all had to dig deep. We've all had to try and find more sponsors. We've all had to try and do more Bunnings barbecues and stuff like that. And I just honestly cannot vote for that, knowing the hours of volunteer work that so many other people put into the community. So, yeah. And that's just my opinion.
Any further speakers? No further speakers. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, raise your right arm. Those against? Councillor Peterson and Councillor Greenhalgh. We move on to item 2.2, which is small donation of grants to sports participants programs quarterly. The recommendation on page 35.
Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any discussion? No discussion? Put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your right arm. Unanimous. We now move on to 2.3, which is Future City Assistance Fund, Round 2, Post-Exhibition Report. What's the recommendation on page 37? Someone prepared to move it?
Yep.
Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any discussion? I'll just make a comment here. I think it's probably one of our better ones that we improved, which goes directly to our heritage and our heritage village, which I think is fantastic. Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your right arm. Unanimous. And I do believe we'll leave yours until the shadowed amendment until it comes back. You happy with that?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. No further matters. I'll close the Finance Committee meeting at 7:26. Call on Councillor McDonald to do the Service Policies Committee.
Councillor Duffy, I'm happy to do it from my seat if everyone else is happy. Just less people moving around given.
See everyone, I'm quite happy.
Okay, I'd like to open the Services Policy Committee meeting for the 5th of July with the time being 7:27. Does any councillor have a pecuniary interest, significant non-pecuniary interest or less than significant non-pecuniary interest in any matter listed at the meeting? Nope. Excellent. All right, item 2.1, minutes of the Clifton Grove Community Committee. Recommendations on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
Move.
Moved by Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion? Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out, and this will apply to the Spring Hill one as well. So on page 16, about the charter for the committee, executive summary, Orange City Council has developed and adopted the charter for the Lucknow Community Committee.
Typo.
So they've cut and pasted it for the other two as well, and I just would like that to be corrected if that's okay.
Noted, thank you.
Excellent. Any other discussion? Alrighty, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise your right or left hand. All right, excellent. No one against? Cool. Item 2.2, minutes of the Lucknow Community Committee meeting on the 19th of May. Recommendations on page 23, and I'm after a mover and a seconder again, please. Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Evans. Anything for discussion? Nope. Alrighty, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, right or left hand? Excellent. Anyone against? Sweet. Item 2.3, minutes of the Spring Hill Community Committee meeting. This recommendation's on page 45. And again,
Happy to move it.
thank you, Councillor Miletto, seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any discussion? Same thing, same point. Can I leave that with you, Mr. CEO?
Noted, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through, yeah.
Alrighty, well, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Cool. Anyone against? Alrighty, number 2.4, minutes of the Orange. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Greenhalgh, thank you. Any discussion? Nope. Alrighty, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? Nope. Alrighty, thank you, councillors. That concludes the Services Policy Committee meeting at 7:29. Call on Councillor Power.
Thank you, Councillor Donnell, and thank you very much, councillors and all staff, to providing all of those amazing things to...
Welcome the new councillor of the chamber. I'd just like to welcome the new councillor to the chamber, Councillor Donnell, and Peter Stevenson.
It's one of those nights, I think. In no other policy matters, the council meeting will resume.
We're up to
Point 4, notice of motion, there's nil. 5, general reports nil. We'll go on to now point 6 was closed meeting. See closed agenda. Chief Executive will advise the council of written submissions have been received relating to any items to be considered by closed meeting Orange City Council according to.
Right, yeah. Sorry, Mr. Chair, there are no such submissions.
Yep, thank you. So, okay. So, in accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, the Local Government General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind as referred to the Section 10A 2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of the Council, meeting closed to the public, to the press and public. So doors are closed. Thank you. And I'd just like to read the following items are classified confidential under provision of Section 10A2 of the Local Government Act 1993, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public for the business relating to sections 6.1 subdivisions. Redactions, the 7th of June 2022, Section E, information that would be if disclosed just to prejudice the maintenance of law. Please pause the meeting for a few minutes before we go on, and I'll close it at 7.
If we're going to close.
Thank you, Ed. And Councillor